Hey guys, PB here from the Home Automation Project. This is video 3 of my ongoing series where I show you how you can uplift your home automation platform using Home Assistant and take it to the next level. In today's video, I show you how to install Frigate as its own separate LXC container on Proxmox, and then how to integrate that Frigate instance to Home Assistant seamlessly via MQTT. I also demonstrate the use of Coral TPU and the benefits of using Coral TPU as opposed to using the inbuilt CPU, and how it helps to improve the performance of your Frigate detection. So there's a lot to cover in this video, and without further ado, let's get started. Okay, so I'm on my Proxmox console here, and the first command that you need to type is lsusb. So this should show you the Coral TPU, which is plugged. I have currently plugged in my Coral TPU device already in the Intel NUC PC in one of the USB ports, and I can see this. If you have any trouble in seeing this, or you're not able to see this, make sure that the device has been passed through correctly to Proxmox. For that, you can refer this page. There's this set of commands which installs this libedge TPU package. You need to run these commands in case you don't see the entry here. Like I showed you, you can simply copy them and you can paste them and hit enter. Okay, so once you can see the Coral TPU device, make a note of the bus number here, which is 01 in my case, and now we can go to this page, which gives you the step-by-step what you need to do to get your Frigate LXC up and running. First thing is you need to set up the container. For that, we need to use a local CT template of Ubuntu. You need to go to local CT templates, and you need to download this template 2204. The one way to do it is you click on templates and search for Ubuntu, hit enter. You can see a number of templates here, but I recommend using 2204 for now. For some reason, I tried to use the latest one, 2404, and I can see there's some issue. I'm not exactly sure if it is an issue with my installation, or is it more an issue with Proxmox compatibility. But I have used 2204 and it works fine. So I'm not going to download it because I've already have the ISIMage downloaded. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit create container, and let me just we can give it an ID, and then you can give it a host name of your choice. I'm going to call it Frigate test.local. Next, give it a password and hit next, and here is where you will select the template that you've downloaded. In my case, I have this 2204, so I'm going to select this, then hit next. You can increase the disk size if you're planning to store a lot of images or videos. You can increase the size to a suitable number. I'm just going to leave it to the default for now. Hit next. You can choose to give it more CPU cores. I'll increase it to 2, and then here you can update the RAM. Depending on the size of the RAM, you can go 4 GB, 8 GB, or even higher if you want. I will just give it 4 GB RAM. Hit next. Rest of the options I will leave as default. The only thing I'll change here is the IP from static to DHCP. It is advisable to give you a static IP to your Frigate container so that your Frigate URL doesn't keep changing. But the way I do it generally is through my router, so I'm not going to give it a static one here, but rather I will give it a DHCP assigned IP, and then I'm going to make it static through the router. So switching over to DHCP, and hit next, and then hit next, and hit finish, and give it a few minutes to set up the container. Shouldn't take long. Yep, and as you can see, it has already finished, so I'll hit close. And on the left you can see that the container has been created here, and it is by default it is in stopped status. You need to do a few more steps on the Proxmox shell. So if you go to the script here, so the first step we have done is create the container. Now we need to pass through the USB Coral before we start the container. For that, if you scroll down to the step, you issue the command lsusb. So let's do that here, and double check the bus number 001. In this example, I think it's 004. In our case, it's 001. Next thing is you need to issue these commands to take you to the directory where you have the configuration file for the container we just created. We need to edit that config file to add these few lines. So let's copy this command here, paste it here, and as you can see, I have got this 115.conf. So I'm going to edit this 115.conf, and here I need to go to the bottom, and then we need to select these lines and paste it here at the very bottom. Now one thing we need to do is we need to change the bus number here to 001 because that is the bus number for our Coral, USB Coral. So I'm just going to change it to 01. But if your Proxmox server reboots for some reason, sometimes this bus number gets randomly assigned to a different number like 002 or 003, one of the other bus numbers, and your Frigate stops detecting the device. So to avoid this issue, what I feel is a better option is to pass all the bus numbers that you have. So what I will do is I'll just copy this command and I'm going to paste another line here, and this one I'm going to change to 202, and then I'm going to paste a third line here, and I'm going to change this to 003. So this ensures that if on reboot the Frigate, the Coral TPU changes the bus number, it still works fine. So now I'm going to hit Ctrl X and save as yes, enter. So just do a cat 115.conf just to double check that my entries have been saved. Yeah, you can see that they have been saved. So that should ensure passing the USB bus. And there's a little explainer here if you want to go through that, what the steps mean. And then next thing is we need to pass through the GPU. For that, the first command that we have here is to double check that the VGA driver is detected properly on our Proxmox. So I'm going to paste the command here, and yeah, you can see in my case it's an Intel VGA controller. So the next command I need to issue is this. It should show our GPU drivers. So there are 3 entries here. Card 0, my numbers are 0 to 226. For render D128, it is 128 to 226. Mentions the major and minor number. We need to make sure that numbers are match what our command shows. And then we need to go to we need to open the config file, and we need to add these lines here. So let me copy these lines, and then we are going to open the config file again. So we'll do the nano115.conf, and then I'm going to come to the bottom and I'm going to paste the lines. Now one thing we need to make sure are the numbers here. So 0 to 226 and 128 to 26. I believe these were the numbers, but I will double check that. And the rest of the things you don't need to change. So just hit Ctrl X and yes, enter. Okay, just double checking 0 to 26 and 226 to 128. Yeah, also done. They should pass the GPU. One last thing is we need to do a chmod on this file so that the right execution privileges are set. So let's do that. And you can do rules, chmod 666 rule, and in this you can put this line, and that should probably not cause an issue on reboot. If you face any intermittent issues when rebooting, if the driver is not detected correctly, it's probably this could be an issue. You can come back and hit this. I'm not going to do this now, but if it is a problem, you can try this as a troubleshooting step. Next thing we need to do is we need to issue this command. So let's do that. And I'm still, if you can see, I'm still on the Proxmox shell, so I've not even started the Frigate container yet, and all these commands are happening at the Proxmox level. Once you have passed the GPU through to the container, next step here is step number 4 is passing the network shell. This is more relevant if you are going to save your media onto a network drive such as a NAS drive. You can follow these steps. I'm going to skip to the step number 5, which is installing Frigate. So before we do that, we need to start the container and then go to the console of the container. So let's come here and click start, right click on the container name and hit start. And once it starts, you should see this console login. So here you need to log in with the root and the password as the password which you gave when we set up the container, when we created the container first time. So we need to use that password. So once here, we need to do a Docker install, and we are going to run the Docker in a Portainer. So the steps here, first is let's hit, because we have newly created the container, we want to update it and run all pending upgrades. So let's do that. Okay, so the updates have completed. Next step here is to install Docker. So let's go ahead and copy this set of commands here and paste and run them. Hit yes. This should again take a few minutes to install the Docker. Okay, so Docker has installed. Next step is to install Portainer. Let's copy. If you're not familiar with Portainer, it gives you a good UI to view your Docker containers as well as to manage them. It's a pretty handy application. I would suggest that you do the step. If you already have a Portainer server running on your PC, then you register this container as an agent, Portainer agent. You can follow the instructions. They are available online. It's a pretty easy step that allows you to register the container as an agent. In my case, I'm going to set up the Portainer server for this container. So let me just issue the commands from the script. It's going to go and download the Portainer image and then run the server. Default port is going to be 9000. Okay, so the installation has now completed. And the next step is, as it mentions here, now we can head over to the browser and we can check that the Portainer server is up and running. And for this we can use the IP address. So just type the command IP-addr to check your IP address, and then you can copy the IP address that is showing here and then open a new browser window. Okay, so in the new browser window, when I give the IP address and hit, :9000 and hit enter, you would be greeted with this screen where you need to set password for the Portainer server and then hit create user. So we go home. Yeah, so you can see this is your local container which we just created, the Frigate container, which is up. Now coming back here, we need to do some prerequisites before we run the Frigate server. First step of the prerequisite is to create the directories. Now as you can see, this is a sample path where the directories have been created. You can choose to create this in a different path. I'm going to just keep it simple and go to the same path to create the directories. Oops. And if I do ls, as you can see, the media and the storage folder has been created under Frigate. We also need to create config.yml as per this, so we can do a nano config.yml and we can paste our suitable config.yml file. If you already have a Frigate instance running somewhere where you have a preferred config.yml file, you can use the same. For such as from within your home assistant instance. As I showed you in the beginning of this video, I already had a Frigate running in my home assistant, which I'm porting over to this new installation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to head over to the home assistant instance and I'm going to copy the Frigate.yml from there, and we will do config.yml. It is empty, so the next step is to go to home assistant and copy the config.yml from there, paste it here. So I'm just going to copy it completely as it is from here paste it. I have this camera Tapo C200. That's the same camera I have connected already, so all the settings are going to be the same. The MQTT settings also are going to be the same, so my MQTT server is going to be the same that is running currently in Home Assistant. So I'm going to connect to the same server using the same username and password, so I don't need to change anything here. I'm just going to literally copy the whole thing. I'm going to just paste it and then do Ctrl X, and yes. So the next step here is we need to go to the Portainer, install the stack for Frigate, and for that we can use this Docker compose file that has been given here. So I'm going to copy this file and I'm going to head over to the Portainer, then connect to this, and you can choose the stacks option, and then here you can do add stack, and in the GUI we can paste the Docker compose file, and you can see it's pulling the latest stable version of Frigate. So you can see there are two entries here, one for USB Coral and one for PCI Coral. I don't need this one because in my case I have a USB Coral, so I'm going to just delete this. We need to modify the path here to the path to our config.yml. So the one which we have is /opt/frigate/config.yml, and this path is opt/frigate. Then we can leave these options as it is, and one thing we can set is a RTSP password. So if we set the environment variable here, we can use this password in our config.yml file. Okay, the other thing that we need to do is give this a name. So I'm going to call it Frigate test, and then hit deploy the stack. This is going to take a little bit more time, maybe a few minutes at least, if not more, to get this up and running. So you have to be simply patient and wait for the deployment to complete. Okay, so now our container has the stack has come up. So let's go in, and as you can see it's running and it's healthy. To test this we can go to the Frigate URL. As you can see here, the IP address :5000. So let's do that, and voila, we have Frigate up and running. However, you can see here that there is an error. So let's see what the error is. So we can go to system logs. I think the connection timed out. Yes, there's a firewall issue here, so I'll just try and fix this. Okay, so there was an issue with the firewall on my router accessing the camera feed, but it's working now, so you can see me here. The next thing we need to check is the system metrics. There's some problem with so this is not really using the Coral TPU as the detector at the moment, and you can see the speed is, yeah, it's not that great. It's coming around 97. So the reason this is happening is because Frigate.yml is set to CPU, so I need to update my Frigate.yml. What I need to do is I need to go to the configuration editor, and so you can see here the detector is set to CPU. I need to switch it over to Coral USB here, and then I'm going to save and restart. So let me do that. Okay, so now I have updated the configuration file to switch to Coral TPU, and I've restarted, and let's go to system metrics, and hooray, so now we got the Coral TPU running, and as you can see the time is 10 milliseconds. That's like amazing. So now that we have Frigate up and running, we need we can connect this, we can integrate this with the Home Assistant instance. Straightforward. We need to just take the IP address from this Frigate container. So on my Home Assistant, if I go to device and services, and here you can just directly click add integration, search for Frigate, and click, instead of this default hostname, we need to replace it with the IP address of the Frigate LXC container, and leave the port as 5000. Submit, and there you go. So it immediately detects the camera as well as the zones and the Frigate instance itself. So once you hit finish, you can see it has come through, and that's it. One last point here, that although this did work for me, but I've seen that there are some unpredictable crashes that happen if you leave the container as unprivileged. So what I've done is I've eventually moved to privileged container, and it seems like the crashes have disappeared completely, and it is a very stable build for me. So hopefully find this video useful, and I will see you in the next. That will be all for this video. Hope you enjoyed it. If you like the video, do not forget to hit the like button. If you're enjoying my ongoing series and like these kind of videos, do hit subscribe so that you get notified when I release more such videos. In the next video, I'm going to cover face detection using double take and compare face. So I hope you stay tuned for that. Till then, stay safe and stay connected.